Today I want to say a few words about Parshat Behaalotcha. This is a weekly reading which has a very interesting and unusual signs, if you could call it, something that you can't even call letters, the inverted nuns, what they call. Nuns that were not in their regular shape, that are symmetrically inverted. And there are two such nuns, and the entire 5 books of Moshe, there is no such symbol anywhere else. This is an exclusion. Only in the book of Bamidbar, only in our Parsha, there are two nuns that surround basically a very short passage, which talks about how Aaron, how the holy ark that contained the luchot, the holiest article of the temple, that was moved in front of the Jewish people. V'yehi b'nso Aaron v'yomer Moshe. We say it, by the way, when Sefer Torah is taken out during the reading in the synagogue. We say this verse. And when the Aaron was moving, was traveling, Moshe would say, etc. So this short passage, which has exactly 85 letters, the Talmud talks about this. This is the shortest kind of mini Sefer Torah, as I'll explain in a moment. So this passage that has 85 letters is surrounded by two inverted nuns. Now, in the rest of Tanakh, there is also another place where there are inverted nuns. Many inverted nuns are in 107th Psalm. And that's it. In the entire Hebrew Bible, there are no other signs like that. Now, with regards to these inverted nuns in this particular place, there are two main explanations in the Talmud. The Talmud talks about it and various midrashim, and in particular in the book of in the tractate Shabbat, it talks about this concept that when there is a fire and a scroll of Torah might burn, we're still not allowed to break Shabbat from the Torah, to break any biblical law. Shabbat is more important than even preserving the Torah scroll. It's better that the Torah scroll will chas v'shalom burn, but we cannot break Shabbat when it comes to biblical law of Shabbat. Shabbat is incredibly important. Only to preserve a life, to save a life, we're allowed to break Shabbat, but not to preserve a Sefer Torah. But there are certain rabbinical laws, certain leniencies when it comes to rabbinical law. When it's not a prohibition from the Torah, certain leniencies exist. And they talk about this idea that when there's 85 letters in a scroll, sometimes that makes enough the scroll becomes important enough that it needs to be saved. So 85 letters is based on this pasuk, on the two psukim, I think. This particular parsha, a very small passage, starting with V'yehi b'nso Aaron. So 85 letters is a kind of minimal Sefer Torah, you could call it. And one and because it discusses this topic in the tractate Shabbat, it starts discussing why are there inverted nuns around this passage and what exactly all of this means. And in a way, these inverted nuns look like parentheses of sorts. So it's as if this passage is in parentheses. So one opinion is that this passage was put specifically in the wrong place. It was done on purpose, that the passage is moved from its more natural place where the moving of the machanot, of the Jewish camps, is discussed. Instead, it's moved in here to insert it between different punishments. So that's why there's kind of parenthesis to show this passage is separated. There are opinions that in the future, I guess the idea is in the future world, or in the times of Mashiach or whatever, this passage will be moved to its right place. So that's one explanation. Another explanation, which is even more interesting, is that this passage is considered a separate book of Torah. We usually say that Chumash is 5 books of Moshe, right? It's 5 books. Now we're reading the 4th of it, of these books, the Book of Bamidbar. I think in English they call it Pentateuch or something like that. That comes from the Greek or the Latin or whatever. That means 5, right? It's 5 books. But here the opinion of some sages is that it's 7 books of Torah. That the Book of Bamidbar is split into 3. In a certain sense, we could say that everything until this first nun is one book, and then this tiny book of 85 letters is another book, and then the rest of the Book of Bamidbar is a third book. So the Book of Bamidbar consists 3 separate books, and altogether there are 7 books of Torah. In a sense, like Menorah, right? The number 7, of course, is very important. So, in a certain sense, the Torah consists not of 5 books but of 7, depending on how you split it. So, on this idea, the Vilna Gaon brings various Kabbalistic secrets and sodot, and the basic gist of it, I'm not going to go into the details, but it's known fact that the Sfirot of Netzach, Hod, Yesod are kind of related together, and Yesod is in the middle between Netzach and Hod, just like in the physical body. For those who know what these represent, I'm not going to go into details, but for those who know, they will realize what I'm hinting to. So Yesod, the Sphira in the middle, has to do with Brit Milah, and the word Milah, in fact, it has gematria of 85, exactly the number of letters in this area that's surrounded by 2 Nuns. So basically, it's Kineged the Sphira of Yesod. Aaron, by the way, also had to do with Yesod. So Vayibin, so Aaron has to do with the Sphira of Yesod. And the spheres before and after are Netzach and Hod. By the way, something similar happened to the Book of Eicha, the Lamentations. In that book, there are 5 chapters, but one of the chapters is divided into 3, meaning the other chapters have 22 verses each, most of them are alphabetical, almost alphabetical. But the chapter that has 3 times the number of verses, for each letter of the alphabet, there is 3 verses. Ani HaGever, it starts this chapter. So again, there are 3 aleph, 3 bets, etc. So this is the idea of, 5 that is split into 7. One of the 5 is split into 3, and altogether it's 7. So the Vilna Gaon connects the 2. And again, this is all Kabbalistic. I'm not going to go into details, and this is far beyond the scope of our lecture. But the point is that there are important ideas, very important ideas, hinted to by these inverted nuns and by separating this 85-letter passage from everything else in the book of Bamidbar. That's what I wanted to say for today. And if you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.